Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to section 8.8, differences of squares, but this time solving equations. So we're asked to solve this equation by factoring. But do you remember a couple sections ago? What does this have to be equal to so we can factor it? What's it have to equal? And I hope you said it has to equal 0. So if it has to equal 0, what do we have to do with this 25? Well, let's subtract it over to the other side. And now we're left with 4a squared minus 25 equals 0. Now, how do we factor this? Remember yesterday, can we take anything out of these two terms? No, we can't. So let's go ahead and make some parentheses. Now, what multiplies to that 4? What times itself multiplies the 4? So that's going to be 2 and 2. What multiplies times itself to be a squared? That's going to be a and a. Now it's a minus 25, so we can just go minus plus what multiplies the 25, 5, and a positive 5. Now, since they both equal 0, we can go 2a minus 5 equals 0, and then we can take this guy and go 2a plus 5 equals 0. Solving for both, we subtract the 5 over to get 2a equals a negative 5 divided by 2, so a equals a negative 5 halves. And then in the blue guy, we add the 5 over, so 2a equals 5, dividing by 2, a equals 5 halves. So our two answers are a equals 5 halves and a equals a negative 5 halves. Jumping to number 2. Here we already have it equal to 0, so we're a step ahead. Now, though, we have minus 9/16. Can we do the same thing with a fraction? Well, let's try it. Let's go ahead and make our parentheses. What times itself will give us an x squared? Well, that's x and x. But now we have a 9/16. Take a peek at 9. What times itself will give you 9? Hopefully, we said 3. Well, now what times itself will give you 16? And that is 4, so we're going to put 4 on the bottom of that. Notice how we broke up this fraction. What times itself gave us 9? It's 3. What times itself gave us 16? It's 4. That whole mess still equals 0. Now, set both of these factors equal to 0. So it's x minus 3/4 equals 0, and then x plus 3/4 equals 0. Solving for x, we add the 3/4 over, so x equals here 3/4. Then here we subtract it over, so x equals a negative 3/4. So our solutions are 3/4 and negative 3/4. Let's try a couple more. Number 3, when we're asked to factor these guys, what does it have to equal? It has to equal 0. It does not equal 0. So let's subtract the 4/25 over to the other side, so it equals 0. Now, just like on number 2, let's go ahead and make our parentheses. What times itself gives us q squared? That's q. Now, it's a minus sign, so we can go minus plus. What times itself gives us 4? That's 2. And what times itself gives us 25? That's 5. So now our fraction in those parentheses is going to be 2/5 equals 0. Set both equal to 0, and then go ahead and solve. So we solve here, q equals a positive 2/5, and here q equals a negative 2/5. Now, looking at 4. Again, does it equal 0? Yes. What's our next step? Can we take anything out of these two numbers? Well, I look at them and I see that they're both divisible by 4, so I'm going to bring a 4 out and rewrite it as t squared minus 4, right? Because I divided out of 4 here, so I'm left with a t squared. 16 divided by 4, you're left with a negative 4. So I'm going to continue to bring that 4 down, but now I have t squared minus 4 that I'm going to write in the purple parentheses. What's that? Going to equal 0. Well, what do we put in these purple parentheses? Well, what times itself gives us t squared? So that's going to be t and t. What times itself gives us 4? That's going to be a negative 2 and a positive 2 because of that negative sign. Now, when we're solving for 0, when we are solving for 0, we don't care about that 4. We just care about our variable, so it's t minus 2 equals 0. And then this guy, t plus 2 equals 0. Solving for t, here we add it over, so t equals 2. And subtract it over here, t equals a negative 2. So our two solutions are 2 and negative 2. And that does it for section 8.8, differences of squares involving equations. Good day.